Hi, so this is when everything comes together. So what we've done is that we've made a cycle in um, Animate, a cycle in After Effects, and a cycle in Photoshop. And I'll tell you what, before going into this, I'm going to say that we're going to put this together, but I hope that you'll learn from something from me because actually in two of the three animations, I made mistakes. So I'm going to try to fix them. Um, and hopefully you'll see some tricks that I use to try to fix a few things. I should probably go back into the programs in the first place, but at this point, I think it'd be interesting to show you how I'm going to try to at least fix these things. So I'm making a new project. I'm calling it Bounce Compilation. And okay, and then I'm going to put it down in a project directory I made called Premiere Project. Okay. All right. So there are a number of relatively new things that we're going to wind up going over. So first of all, we don't have our material in here, but first we don't have a sequence. So you have to have a project, then you have to have a sequence within it. So here's the sequence presets. I actually like this ARRI 1080p 24 frame setup. It's something kind of specific, but to tell you the truth, I've just happened to find this preset and it works really well for me, so I'm going to use that. Okay, first of all, one thing that I'm going to wind up doing is that I'm going to put a title on this. I haven't shown you this yet. First of all, one thing I'm going to show you is that in Preferences, and I'll go down here and let's see here. Where is it? Okay, Preferences in the timeline. If you bring in any still image, and this is going to be really relevant when we go into stop motion. You can bring in a still image or a title or whatever. It'll come in at a certain number of frames. When we do stop motion, you're going to set this at 2, and I'll go and show you this when we do stop motion. But in this case, we're doing 24 frames a second, and I'm about to make a title. And whenever you make something like this, you have to set the number of frames. We're going 24 frames a second, so 5 times 24 is what? 120. And that's what it says, still image default duration. So that's what I'm going to use. Anyway, okay, so that's all set up. Okay, so and I'm going to set up things for the editing configuration. So these are the different configurations for the workspace. So I'm going to be in editing at the moment. And what we need to do is I'm going to make a title. And I like legacy title because sometimes kind of old. So I'm just going to say bounce title. And okay, and then what I'm going to do here is that I'm just going to type in something and it'll give me this weird default type style, which I'm going to change. But actually, I'm going to change this immediately to my favorite, which is Atkinson Hyperlegible. And I'm going to do a center justification. I'm going to say project 4. Patrick Lichty. Z10231. Ball bounce. Compilation. And I'm just going to go here and I'm just going to make the font size on this just a bit bigger, just to make it a little more fun. And I'll take the direct select tool and just center things up and save the project. So the one thing that we'll notice really quick is that this bounce title is down in our bounce compilation area, and boom, there it is. That's perfect. One thing that's, as you can see, this has filled up all of our timeline area, and that isn't very good. So what we need to do down here, and remember, the tooltip always tells us everything, but it isn't popping up. This is kind of our time range. And what I want to do is that I want to have this be 35 seconds, but we're going to work on things that are about 3 or 4 seconds. Basically, we want to get these. We want to get these clips taken care of, get them into a format that they work, and then we're going to copy and paste them like mad. Another thing that I want to do is that I want to add a track. Yep, I want to add one video track, and that was at the bottom of sequence, and I'll put that after video 3. The reason I'm going to do this, we're going to have the three pieces, and then I'm going to put it on a background. So you don't have to do the background thing, but I'm going to. So, all right. So I have everything for the Premiere project already saved here. I've got the After Effects loop, which I made a mistake and I put on a black background. And I have these two others, and I also got a high definition size background. And we'll just get this all in here. You can see this is now all part of the project. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to drag this in, and actually I just saw this. Okay, I just wanted to check that it was 24 frames a second. So you can see here. Actually, I'm also going to show you one other extra super kind of cool thing. So over here, and we're going to be using this in a few things, is that there's this there are these effects. Actually, I think I can get them. Can we get to them over here? No. Okay. Window, effects, let's see here. Yep. Okay, there it is down here. So what we can do is I'm just going to do a video transition, and I'm just going to have it fade from one to the other, and this is called a cross dissolve. And you just drag these things, and you just drag it over these two, and watch what happens. It just fades right across. So Let's not worry about that too much with our clips, but let's go over here to let's see here. Go over here to the project. Here's all the stuff. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go and we're going to knock out this green screen, and we'll try knock out this black screen too. So, but let's put this here, and let's put each of these at a different point in the timeline. So there's the After Effects loop. And okay, there's that. Sequence 1, bounce title. Which one is this? That's animate. It's After Effects, and now I need the Photoshop animation. So let's examine each one of these and take a look at how they all work. So first of all, I have a little problem in that the Photoshop animation is only 18 frames. We need to be 23. We'll work on that. We'll do this thing called speed and duration, and then let's take a look at, let's see here. That's Photoshop. Oh, this is the After Effects loop. Let's see how long that is. Let's double click on this. And okay, that's 23 frames. And that looks great, but the whole thing is on a black background. We'll work on that. Okay. And then let's double click on this one. This is a bit of a problem because, you know what? It looks fine, but it's too small. So it isn't going to look perfect, but we're going to need to scale this. So let's do a couple things. First of all, let's try to knock this, let's try to get rid of the green part. So we go down here to Effects. And yep, they're right up here. And there's lots of things you can do. You know, you can correct color, you can generate all kinds of crazy things like lens flares and lightning, and distort things with magnification, and stylize things with turn them into mosaics. And all we want to do right now is we want to do something called keying. There's a couple of different ways that I do this. I would either do this with something called a non-red key, a color key, or an ultra key. Probably I'm going to do this with a color key. So since I've got this, I'm going to go back to editing. Actually, what I'll wind up doing is I'll go back here to effects. And I'm going to take this color key. And let's see here, where's my timeline? So I'm just going to stretch this out. Okay. So what I'm going to do is you take the color key and you drag it onto your clip, and I'm going to do this for each one of these. So I'm going to take a look at this, and then I'm going to go over here to editing up here at the top. And I'm going to select this clip. And then all of a sudden, you notice that I've got all of these controls. Here is the color key. And you can tell effects, and here it is. So what I'm going to do is that we're going to select this green as our color key, and you want to make sure that your time slider is back here. So what you want to do is that, if you notice, it isn't quite perfect. It's saying, no color tolerance. Even if I go to 1, I think, if I just scrub this up to 1. Let me just go to 1. No. Let's go to 4. Oh, I might have to go up to 16 or so, maybe. When does it drop out? Drops out at 5. But you notice that you have to scale it up just a little bit. So here's the issue. You've got this blurry green thing going on here. So there's a couple things that you have to do. There's this thing called edge thin. And if you notice, see, that takes the edge in, but also on the other hand, you notice that you have to play with the tolerance. And I usually set edge feather at about 2 pixels. And we'll set the color tolerance. Let's just see what happens until it disappears. Okay. It's not quite perfect, but I'm going to take it. Mainly because of the fact that my object isn't really quite that big. Probably should have used something a little bit bigger. The other thing that I'm going to show you how to do is that I want this to bounce off of the wood. This is just something that happened because of the fact that I just decided to do this background. And I want to do this just because I want to do it. So, what I'm going to do, just like in After Effects, you got X and Y on position. I'm not going to keyframe it because I don't want it to move. I just want to set it for being its normal spot. So guess what? I'm just going to have it right here. And watch what happens. That's kind of cool. Okay. So I'll do something else with this, is that I'm going to, oops, I want to select video 2. Let's just get where there's nothing around. Okay. And then let's just drag it back up here. And then let's just go drag and bring out maybe about 4 more of these. I'll drag these into place. And just for fun, I'll just extend the background a little bit. So we've got about 10, 12 seconds of this one bouncing. One thing that's going to be interesting is that these things aren't going to be the same size. So, just some things to consider. Okay, so let's work on the second one. And I'm going to save the project. And okay, this seems kind of odd. Seems bigger than it should be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to take the scale on this. I'm going to scale it back a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit big. It's very strange. Oh well. Okay. So that's kind of doing what we wanted to do. So let's see what happens with the color mat, okay? And I'll just move this over here. Let's go over to the color key. And I hope this works. By the way, there's some things there with a lot of kind of crazy stuff, but okay. So I'm going to do a color tolerance of this is actually working out pretty good. I'll thin the edges just a little bit. And maybe I'll put the feathering on 1. And I think this is working just fine. And since we scaled this a bit, remember, with the scaling, I don't have this there we go. That's great. Okay. Cool. So I'm going to copy this. I'll just go over here into my other area here. And I'll just come back and bring this back here. Oh, you know what? I think yeah, you know what? I also have another with this one. I also have another problem. It's 21 frames. So I actually have to get rid of all of these. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to change see here. Which one is this? This is okay. I'll go down here and I did a control click on this one here, and guess what? It needs to be 23. So I'm not reversing it. We don't need to worry about audio. We don't need to worry about all of this. I kind of like optical flow. It kind of averages things out a little bit more. Okay. So, and by the way, I'm just going to get rid of all this for the moment. And let's just see where they're both kind of there. Okay. So I'm going to go and just make a bunch of copies of this. Go out here. And I'll drag these up into the second channel. And I'll drag these in place. To where they're supposed to be. And then, so what I'll do is I'll do the same thing with the Photoshop one. I'll take it up into channel 3, track 3 actually, if we're being correct. And okay. And the other thing I'll wind up doing is I'm also going to do a copy and paste on this background. I'm going to extend it out here. Okay, so let's work on this one here. It's probably too big too. And this might be okay. So let's go over to the effects controls. Guess what I did? You know, I put the same one on. And so let's take this up to about 12 as well. Yeah, it's not too bad. Thin the edges a little bit. Take the edges to about maybe 2. Hey, you know what? That's just about perfect. And then let's give this a feather of 1. And look at that. That's awesome. So that's a little bit funky. I need to take the edge thin down a little bit. That's okay. And then let's feather this down to 2. It's not quite perfect, but in this case, this is a beginning exercise, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. Oh, wait a second. I also have this other issue of saying that let me see how long this is. Aha, it's 18. Okay. So remember, I gotta rescale this up to 23. And I'm gonna use optical flow. And okay, so at this point, I've got what I need. And I'm just kind of going over here to some other spots in the project just as kind of a work area. So I've just copied and pasted about 12 of these. I'm taking these up to track 4. And hey, look at that. So one thing I'm going to do that's a little bit fancy is that I'm going to do a fade in. I'm going to do a cross dissolve on the first one of each of these, just so it fades in. And okay. So don't worry about the Lumetri scopes on the left. It's really nothing that you need to worry about. So honestly, I've just taken this over into editing, and let's just move our time scale back. And okay, I want to do this for 30 seconds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to select all 3. Actually, I'm going to select all these 3 channels. I'm going to put my time slider out here. And I'll just move this up here. Actually, I need to move it. I'll undo that move. I'll take these. And actually, I'll take this out and I'll put this back in. So I'll put it back in at another time. Okay. Move that back there. And I'll take 2 or 3 clips. Move them back up here. And we're at about 30 seconds. That's what I want. Let me copy the background. And I'll just select these and move it back in. And the thing is, don't worry about anything regarding sound. We're not doing anything with that. So I'm going to cut this out. And the one thing is to clip this in. You just grab the one side, click, and you just drag it in until it snaps into place. So 29:22, I'm 2 frames off. Big deal. So let's take a look. It's not 100%, but it does the job. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. It would be great if you had everything about the same size and the same height, but let's see how you do. So, export, media. Let's put this outside. And I'm going to call this Premiere Project Project for Ball Bounce. And that's kind of it. So let's hit save. I'm going to use maximum render quality, format H.264. We can see here it's at high definition. It's 1920 by 1080. I'm not going to export video because there is no there is no audio. There's no sound. And I won't bring it back into the project. Everything's fine. So, there it is, and it's not taking too long to encode. Some of these things will take a while. Like when I do a tutorial, sometimes it'll take, if I put some titling on it, the reason it'll take up to 2 hours, which is the reason why I'm just taking it right out of the QuickTime capture right at the moment, because that still takes me 5-10 minutes, which, you know, if you're doing as many tutorials as I am right now, it adds up. So 1 minute 10 seconds, not bad. Full HD high definition video. And the thing is, what we've done is we've taken three different programs, generated 3 different pieces of work, used a chroma key to knock out the background. By the way, you know we've got a chroma key set up in the Senior Studio for the animator. So if you set up the lighting properly, you could do this, and it would just, you could use this chroma key and you could knock out your background. You know, say for example, you could be running along on a piece of video that there's a giant T-Rex coming after you. So we've got setups to do some pretty interesting things. So let's just go over here to the downloads, over to the let's see here. I'll just say Premiere. And I think, let's just go down here. Got way too much stuff on my drive. Here we go. Premiere Project. And now where did I put this? Nope. Let me export again and just see where I was putting it. I'll just put it in sequence 1 at the moment, just so I know where it's at. So also, you notice that there it says that you can queue this stuff. So if you've got a whole lot of work and you want to run overnight, you can just put it in the queue, and it'll just run overnight. It'll just do whatever you want. The only thing is that with the difference between After Effects and Premiere, Premiere is actually really good for doing video editing. After Effects is really good for doing motion graphics and special effects and all these sorts of things. You can edit a video in After Effects. You really can. It's just a bit more complex. So when when I'm doing things specifically that has to do with either generating original video or processing video, I use After Effects. But when I want to just edit a movie, I use Premiere Pro. So that's kind of the difference. So let's see here. We've got about a minute to go. And I hope this wasn't too painful. I think that this last, actually putting this together, on one hand, if you have done everything correctly, it goes together really fast. If you've done things incorrectly like I have, it can take a while. So I'm kind of showing you what I did, and I did some stuff wrong, and how I tried to fix it. So I hope you find that helpful. So we've got about a minute, so this will be done just a couple seconds here. So after this, stop motion. Your stop motion is going to be done primarily either. You could actually do it in Photoshop. I wouldn't recommend it. But I usually do it in Premiere. And there we go. So, and let's just look at the sequence 1. Not the worst. I'm not going to complain. Actually, I kind of like the composition on this because of the fact that it's off to one. It's kind of like a forced perspective. It's kind of nice. So that's it. That's all you need to do. That's the end of the common assessment, and which is project 4. And then after we get all this done, after this week, we're going to get into stop motion, which you're going to do one by one, and we'll have a whole month to do it. So actually we'll have about a whole month because I'm going to give you a week to finish up on the silhouette stuff. So let me stop this, and I will see you soon.